Because Alona, a group friend on the Mount Rinjani climb, previously said that the blue fire at Ijen was great, I immediately scheduled a trip there. Only 3 months after Rinjani, in November 2013, I solo traveled to Mount Ijen, East Java. I took the train to Probolinggo and arrived there in the evening. There is no public transport available. I saw a local driver picking up a pair of foreign tourists. I immediately approached and joined the same travel package as the foreign tourists to Bromo and Ijen. I got to know the tourists earlier. Their names are Stephen and Anna. They come from New Zealand but now live in Australia. I stayed at a simple hotel in Semarang. While at the hotel restaurant, I saw an Asian-looking man among the tourists from Europe. He smiled kindly. After dinner, I walk around and buy souvenirs from locals. The souvenirs are warm wool scarves and hats with Bromo written on them. The price is cheap, but very useful. Around 3 in the morning, a jeep picked me up. There are 6 people in our jeep, the driver, me, Anna, Stephen, and 2 other people, Carla and Fabios, from Portugal, but live in London. The speeding driver took us to Pananjakan to see the sunrise. Honestly, I think Bromo's view is not too special. The journey from Probolinggo to Semarang and vice versa is even more beautiful. After seeing the sunrise, we returned to the jeep to Bromo. Bromo is easy to climb. It doesn't feel much different from going to the highest stupa at Borobudur. I chatted with Carla and Fabios. While waiting for Anna and Stephen, we took photos at the top of Bromo. I, Anna, and Stephen parted ways with Carla and Fabios in Probolinggo. I feel lost. I had a lot of fun with both of them. Another driver picked me, Anna, and Stephen up to the accommodation in the Ijen area. The car that took us stopped at the Pasir Putih beach restaurant, Probolinggo. While eating, I looked at the diving operator's poster and saved the number. I could say the trip to Ijen was enjoyable. We stayed at the accommodation owned by the PTP Nusantara coffee factory in Jampit. The view as soon as you enter the village and the forest is beautiful. If you are from outside the city, to go to Ijen, the easiest way is to join a tour package like mine. Because there is no public transportation to Ijen and its accommodation. If you are a solo traveler like me, renting a motorbike taxi to this place will cost much more. The bedroom in the PTP Nusantara guest house is nice and clean. Modest but well maintained. There is a bathroom in each room with a hot water tap. At midnight, we woke up and got ready at the cafe. I met again with the Asian-looking man who had met me at the hotel restaurant in Semarang. The tour driver gave him a glass of hot tea and bread in English. Only then did I know he was not Indonesian. And only then did he know that I was not a guide. We got to know each other. His name is Neo from Thailand. In just a short time, we already chummy. We were in a group to see the blue fire on Mount Ijen. The journey to Paltuting takes about 2 hours. From here, the journey continues on foot for about 2 kilometers through the forest, followed by 800 meters down to the crater. The air temperature in Ijen is around 2 to 10 degrees Celsius. The height of this area is around 2,368 meters above sea level. Because the first 2 kilometers of the road were quite good, the journey was quite safe even though not all of us brought flashlights. We joined another group, around 20 people, all foreign tourists. For the umpteenth time, they thought I was one guide. I was again the only local and hijab-wearing tourist in this group. There are only 2 natural blue fire phenomena in the world, and one of them is in Ijen. The smell of sulfur is very offensive to the nose. The acidity level of the Ijen crater is said to reach 0, strong enough to dissolve the human body. That's why a warning sign was put up not to go down the crater. But how can we see the blue fire clearly if it doesn't go down the crater? I brought an ordinary mask. I saw several people carrying special masks, like those worn by soldiers on the battlefield. Some people like Neo don't even wear anything. Our additional guide, Mr. Salemi, is one of the traditional miners who acts as a guide. Only miners know which rocks are safe to step on in the dead of night like this. We walked 2 by 2. Since Mr. Salemi couldn't speak English, I was temporarily as a guide. I translated Mr. Salemi's explanation and organized the group in pairs to get to the mining site. I also helped some lost tourists to join our group. Some people have already come down. While waiting, I offered the candy I brought to our small group. Stephen and Anna were next in line. Neo invited me to descend the crater together because he was also a solo traveler. Green tea. Neo smiled while chewing his candy. I confirmed. After everyone went down, Mr. Salemi offered to take a closer look at the Ijen crater. Ijen crater is the largest crater lake in the world. The sulfur mined here reaches 14 tons every day. We had only been on the edge of the crater for a few minutes, and everyone asked to come up immediately. The air was so thick with the smell of sulfur that we all had difficulty breathing. Thick smoke also makes eyes sore and watery. We quickly climbed up, missing the close-up photos of the crater lake. I invite everyone to go up first. I asked Mr. Salemi to lead the group while I glanced at the clock. It's already dawn. Oh yes, morning prayer. Neo looked at his watch. It's time. He understands. I performed my morning prayers as best I could in a relatively flat place. When I finished, I realized that everyone was waiting for me. Then we went upstairs together. The sun had risen, the road was visible. We could walk upstairs much more easily ourselves. Are you only wearing sandals, sis? Mr. Salemi saw the sandals I was wearing. Just ordinary sandals, not mountain sandals or trekking shoes like the others. Mr. Salemi himself was wearing boots. I salute you, sis. Usually, local people don't come down. Only strong foreign tourists. I just smiled in response. Honestly, after climbing the Sonaru Trail on Mount Rinjani Cliff a few months ago, this trekking is easy. We took photos and then continued our journey. Neo and I chatted along the way. We met Anna and Stephen again at Pondok Bunder, where the miners weighed their sulfur output. They printed some of the sulfur as souvenirs. Stephen and I bought one. In Paltuting, I had to say goodbye to Anna, Stephen, and Neo. They will continue their journey to Banyuwangi. I'm a bit sorry because I didn't get to take a photo with them. Luckily, Neo and I exchanged cell phone numbers. I was planning to go to Baluran National Park, but the cheap diving package I saw on the poster yesterday made me interested. So I asked to be taken back to Pasir Putih Beach and booked accommodation at Wisma Bayangkara for the night. You could say I was in the middle of nowhere. I don't know my location. I don't know my position on the map. I chose this place only because I was tired. Since this accommodation is owned by the police department, I consider this place safe. It rained heavily that afternoon. The beach was empty, and I was exhausted. Tomorrow, I have to leave early in the morning for another place. I slept for a few hours and woke up when the rain had stopped. I decided to try learning to dive that afternoon because I wouldn't have time tomorrow. What can you see on the beach after the heavy rain? The sea water is murky. The level of visibility is much reduced. But what excited me was that the beach was empty. There were only 3 people there. My guide, Brother Ralph, another guide, and myself. I quickly put on my gear and plunged into the water. My weight is around 50 kilograms. Meanwhile, the total weight of the weights on my waist and the oxygen cylinder on my back is around 35 kilograms. As a result, I immediately drowned. The basic lesson in diving is learning to breathe and sign in the water. The way to breathe in diving is the same as snorkeling, even easier because there is an oxygen cylinder. Because I couldn't swim, I refused when invited to go deeper to see the various coral reefs. Even though I was told that the depth was still safe and we were following safety procedures, my fear was still greater than my curiosity. So we only dived at a depth of 4 to 5 meters until more than an hour later, and it took me back to the accommodation. Even though I was in the middle of nowhere, I lay down that night feeling content. About a year later, when I was traveling solo in Thailand, I contacted Neo for routes and lots of things. We are still friends to this day.